Tesla stock is broke and it's going under $100 all the way to $69, says a Tesla stock bear on TV.
I actually think it's going probably break 100, which where it was in January, and my price target is 69 to the downside. That might seem a little aggressive on 420 on a day that it was just Elon day here. But to me, I think there's something else going on here with Tesla. We know that he had been selling Tesla shares all year last year to fund his purchase of Twitter. We know that SpaceX has been for sale. He's been looking to raise capital that way. You know, if this stock were to continue to go lower, if they are pushing out a manned trip to the moon, and that's what the whole idea of this rocket launch was today. Twitter, they just marked down from $44 billion to $20 billion. He's got $13 billion. This is not a generally very liquid person. He used to be able to get whatever lines that he wanted to, but now he's got all these banks on the hook for this debt that he can't service based on Twitter's businesses.
That argument maybe actually would have some substance if Twitter was losing a lot of money, but Twitter is basically breaking even, and Elon expects that it will become profitable very soon. If Elon sells more Tesla stock later, it is very unlikely to be because he needs more money for Twitter. That possibility still, of course, remains, but that is a very small possibility. He made it sound like, oh, it's a certainty, it's guaranteed Elon will do that again. And then SpaceX, well, he made it sound like it just happened. Actually, this happened months ago, and we don't even know if it was Elon or if it was just employees, management that has stock options perhaps, or stock that wanted to sell. We can speculate that Elon sold some too, but we don't know for sure.
So to me, he might be entering the end game here a little bit for being the CEO of all of these companies and being that levered. And now, when you look at the stock right here, it's broken.
Oh, it's broken? Well, let me play a clip from 2019.
I'll just say this, that she mentioned a lot of businesses that they're very far ahead of all their competitors. I think very soon people are going to start circling, you know, the scavengers may start circling and thinking about what is the sum of the parts. You know, we know that they are ahead in AI chips. They are ahead in battery development, that sort of thing. But at some point, they're going to have to start licensing this technology, I suspect, to some of the guys who actually know how to make cars.
News alert, Tesla already knew how to make cars back in 2019, and now it scaled that production. Long term, the stock is as broken as Tesla was broken as a company back in 2019 when Dan said that. Dan's argument actually reminds me of this video I posted exclusively on Patreon. The sign-up link is down below in the description. And now we are back to today's Nathan.
The fundamentals have shifted. Not a single analyst on the street downgraded this stock, okay? There's plenty of price target downgrades. They will be downgrading this stock lower. I'm just telling you that, people, over the next 3 to 6 months or so.
To be fair, Tesla stock did get downgraded, for example, by a Jefferies analyst, Philippe, but he says hold Tesla stock. He does not say sell Tesla stock, but it was downgraded from buy to hold. But here is what's wild. Back on January 26, he said that Tesla's stock, based on his price target, is going to be $180 12 months from that moment. This was when he said buy Tesla stock. Now he says hold, don't buy anymore, but his price target is actually $5 more than it was back in January. The price target is $185. This downgrade is relatively a very weak downgrade. But somewhere in between January and now, he did increase his Tesla stock price target to $230. So when he downgraded it, he also reduced the price target.
Who knows if he's going to be in control of this company in the not so distant future, because it doesn't seem like the Elon aura is playing out right now, the 3 biggest companies that he's involved in.
So even putting aside this sort of pivot, because they did sort of pivot yesterday when they were saying we examine pricing on a weekly basis, we're going to keep cutting prices to keep the volume up. That's growth at all costs. That's sort of growth mode company for a company that may not necessarily be in growth mode right now. But putting that aside, you think the stock goes to 69 because he is too extended, that there's a liquidity issue.
No, I
so
just
that
think that
accelerates.
I think there's a demand issue. And I think there's a competition issue in China. And I think that if you're looking at the prices of an average price point of $45,000 for your car, and you've just seen margins go from 25% last year down to 19% and likely going lower, they have a big fundamental problem that I didn't hear a single analyst talk about. There's this guy, Gary Black, and he was on Max's, he was on Last Call last night. He's like the biggest bull ever on Twitter. He's always talking about Tesla. He seemed to have turned on this story. He's lowering his estimates. So earnings estimates are coming down. Margin estimates estimates are coming down, delivery estimates are coming down, backlogs coming down, and inventory's going up. Does that sound like a good fundamental situation for you?
The scavengers may start circling and thinking about what is the sum of the parts.
No, I don't know. Where were the scavengers that Dan was talking about back in 2019? And look at the inventory at the Model Y. The Model Y is the most important one because that's the one that Tesla sells by far the most of. The inventory is falling off the cliff in the US for the Model Y, the Model 3. Well, it is a bit high, but if this keeps falling down, then the Model Y will have to sell at a higher price, which will make the Model 3 more attractive. Therefore, it will pull more buyers towards the Model 3, away from the Model Y. To me, as a long-term investor, all of this is just noise. The Ford CEO warns Tesla about product freshness, believes their EVs are becoming commodities. He says, I think what he is going to learn, Elon Musk, is that product freshness means a lot. The product gets commoditized and then you lose your pricing premium. That's a really dangerous thing. And I agree, it is really dangerous for Ford. Look at what Ford is doing. Ford has 1,800 used Mach-E's for sale in the US as of today. Last year, they made about 40,000. Tesla made 230,000 Model Ys, but only has about 1,600 used Model Ys. So when we adjust for on-hand inventory and volumes from each automaker, actually, there are about 6.5 times more Mach-E's sitting on used dealer lots versus the Model Y. Why is that? And by the way, the opinion of Ford CEO will turn out to be right if the price cuts stop working. But right now, they are actually still working, and that is so dangerous for Ford. Last year, Ford lost 40% with every EV sold.
I don't know, Rebecca, what do you think?
I think he has a strong view on this. Yeah. I would back up because Tesla's special. I don't want to comment on Tesla per se, but just thinking about what's going to drive the auto demand. The consumer right now is still fine, I'd say even globally, but we're definitely seeing moderation. Q4 last year, we saw the biggest increase in nominal household debt that we had seen in 20 years. So the credit card spending has picked up a lot. The excess savings has been reduced. And now we're starting to hear anecdotally from the banks and from companies like Amex that they're starting to get a little more nervous on that consumer spend. And so if the consumers start ratcheting back, jobless claims today we saw ticking higher again. Guess what they're not buying? Teslas.
Well, they're not buying.
How far you have to cut the cost to get them to buy.
I agree, and they're not buying any cars.
This, of course, all sounds like Elon's fault. I mean, including this bank collapse. Yeah, First Republic went under. And with about $200 billion under assets, that makes it the 22nd biggest bank in the US. While I wish Elon spent a little bit more time at Tesla, Elon does not control the economy or this particular bank. It's not his fault that the interest rates are going up a lot.
You look at how Ford and GM have traded over the last couple of days, too. And I agree. Today's data anywhere, whether it was that Philly Fed, whether it was the jobless claims that are still, like the market's still tight, but they are weakening.
Yes.
And I think you have a dynamic here where it to me, it just gets back to the multiple of Tesla. It's never made sense to me. It makes even less sense now. And I believe it's a car company. I don't believe it's anything else. So, and I look at the chart that tells me this is the last mega cap tech stock that never broke its downtrend going all the way back to 21, to November or December of 21. That still hasn't happened, whereas all the other ones at least started to outperform and started to break to the upside. And I'm not saying that they do forever either. I think there's a reason why the triple Qs and the mega caps kind of broke out around SVB. But those are the things that make the most sense to me right now about Tesla, and it's never been clearer, is that the multiple now, especially if it is a car company, if they are playing the competitive game to outproduce everybody else and take on the competition, I still think competition's pretty tough out there, too. The bigger issue outside of the balance sheet, or as big of an issue, though, is this demand story. I think they pulled a lot of demand forward. I think the tax credit's a big deal. I think they can't make the car that they want to make at $35,000, and therefore it's uneconomic.
This clip was from 2019. He said Tesla had a demand problem. How short-sighted did you have to be to think that Tesla seriously actually had a long-term demand problem. Short-term, you can find faults everywhere. You zoom out a little bit and you see the long-term picture and you will realize, oh yeah, Tesla is actually doing really great. It's leading the charge with its EVs being the least expensive. And mark my words, in 2030, if Tesla actually delivers on its promises and produces and sells 19 million vehicles, Wall Street is going to say, the story is over. The stock is broken. Elon Musk is unexpectedly selling Tesla stock to fund his rockets to go to Mars. By the way, he has been talking about that for many years. But it will, of course, come as a big surprise to a lot of these short-sighted investors. They will make a big deal out of it, just like they made a big deal out of Tesla's demand back in 2019.
I was actually surprised that it closed the day down less than 10%. I thought because it seemed like a narrative shift that they were management was presenting on the conference call.
It is. Yeah, they really focused on the fact that they are trying to increase demand kind of at all costs. So they're willing to cut the prices on their cars, which is interesting because they've done it so many times. I think this is their 5th price cut, that now it comes to the point where consumers are saying, well, are they going to keep doing this if they're so concerned about the economy? Yeah. Exactly. And so I think there is going to be some of that dynamic, but it is clearly a problem of their demand going forward. But I'm with Tim here. I think on the valuation is really where the concern is. Just to put this in perspective, it trades about 42 times next year's earnings. A Ford and a GM are at 7 and 5 times next year's earnings, just to show how expensive that is. And I think ultimately it's eventually got to become closer to that.
And how many vehicles will Ford and GM sell in 2030? Well, I know that Tesla will sell a whole lot more. Tesla could sell 10 times more vehicles in 2030 than in 2022, and maybe even more than that. And this is a video available exclusively on Patreon. This is so crazy, it's actually bullish for me. I'm aiming to post at least 3 videos per week on Patreon exclusively, and maybe more with time. And this is a video that explains why Tesla board members are now buying more Tesla stock. My name is Matt Post. Just like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.